And now bouncing off of our first map back on Mirage, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with more of the ESL One Cologne North American closed qualifiers. It is the Misfits taking on Splyce here, moving into our second map now, which is going to be Train. So the first map actually go relatively close. It looked like, based on the results of the first half, ending 11-4 for the Misfits, that they were going to take it quite handily. But Splyce almost rounded the comeback. Unfortunately, once they got up to 12 rounds, they could not get any further than that, and Misfits did indeed end up closing it out 16-12. So they hold the advantage going into this second map now. And we are going live with a pistol. Misfits starting off on the CT side, and Splyce jumping onto the T side.
So we've seen this team play quite a bit. Splyce, that is, on Train. Coming into, I think, the Mountain Dew League Global Challenge Finals, they were like 7-0 on the map. So or no, they were 6-1. So one of their more popular maps, but not a bad map for the Misfits either. And good aggression early on to net them a kill as Arya gets dropped with the USP. So right off the bat, it's Misfits with the man advantage. They lose it, but bring it right on back as Roka gets one from Ivy, but down goes Drone, and that's the bomb falling just outside of the E-box. It's a hard-to-spot area as well. They've got a man pushed up to the E-box. It's Rix, but he can't really go past it, so he's relying on Roka to open something up from the back lane, and unfortunately, the only thing that's opened up is his skull cap. It's down to just two. It's Semphis and Rix. Rix still stuck behind this box. He's got Semphis on the flank. He'll be able to get a kill on the Sean Garris with ease. Oh, maybe not! Oh! Semphis goes for the knife. Whoops! Yeah, can't really do that one. It's down to just Rix here, and the round is certainly going to be Misfits to take.
That's hilarious. Well, Rix, yeah, not really going to be in a position to do all that much now. He's trying to loop himself back around, but Sean, I think, is going to be waiting inside of here, too. Both are at very low HP. Sean hits the headshot anyway and just sprays the rest of his ammunition into his corpse as Misfits once again will take control of things here at the start of the map, going up 1-0. That is, however, I should note, their first pistol round win. Splyce took both of them on the last map there, so this is the first time they're actually going to be able to start off with the advantage, assuming that they do not get ecoed here, since Splyce did not get the plant. They are just going to force up into this next round.
I had to watch the replay of that. That was just so disappointing. If you're Semphis, you're like, yeah, free knife kill. We probably lost this round, but I can get that bonus cash. Nope, not today. So it's back down to pistols here for Splyce. A scout in play as well, picked up by Arya. Roka is going to be rocking a lowly P250, and he's already taken a pretty good amount of damage, down to 20 HP. Aggression again from Misfits nets them 2 early kills as they pushed into T-connector, not really afraid of the pistols in play for Splyce. Drone, Rix, and Semphis still hanging on to the round, but it's a small, little, tiny thread left of existence right now, and that thread's been cut short. It's on Rix alone, and Rix doesn't last much longer either. So it will be Misfits getting a second round. The most important thing, all 5 players survive, and a lot of those kills came with an ump, so some extra money on top of the fact that they also did not lose their lives. One more round of them just tearing into the opposing side should net Misfits a serious amount of cash flow.
Yeah, great for economy buildup overall, and especially since Splyce are going to end up on a pretty poor buy for this round. You can see that they're just trading their way through the white hulls more than likely. Highly doubt that they're going to try anything super strategic here this time. It's more likely they just want to pass this round over and get themselves into the gun round. But even so, if they do try to access the box hulls, it'll be smoked off, which is going to cause a certain amount of uncertainty. And Sean, Amanek, and even a third player rotating back in now are going to be here to watch out for this, as Shazam was allowed to push all the way out and around Ivy. So they know for sure it's coming to enter, and it should be a relatively simple shutdown. 3-4 kills in the hands of Sean. He might get the ace as well, and indeed he does. Nicely played. Sean Garris picks up the quick ace.
A lot of those kills. SMG kills. Look how much money he's got right now. $10K.
$10,000. Holy crap.
Oh, Jesus. Considering he almost got knifed, and to turn that around and now he has $10K. It's like almost insult to injury. It's salt in the wounds right now if you're Semphis, who can barely afford smoke armor or AK armor or smoke flash. So it's a pretty tight buy for Splyce, all things considered. They basically have nothing outside of an AK and a smoke grenade. Semphis is the only one who even has a little bit more with that flashbang. So, I mean, they have what it takes to go for an A execute, like the 5.6 E-box smoke for the outer yard. And it does look like that's what they're thinking of doing, because right now they haven't really left T-spawn, which would indicate that this is the inevitable plan. We'll see what they decide to do. Arya is positioned in ladder, which would be kind of a lead role in that sort of setup.
Well, for Splyce here now, it is looking like they are trying to go for sort of default. But Misfits already have a lot of defense set up out here. Devo Duvek along with Sick both hiding out inside of the ladder room. And then Amanek and Shazam also a little bit deeper into the site itself right now. Shazam trying to go for some pre-fire. That's not going to be hitting anytime soon. Splyce have not really thrown a whole lot of pressure into those halls at all, let alone one that would be hiding up back behind that spray position, or that spam position, excuse me. But with time starting to get a little bit lower, and Misfits, well, not having done any investigation or anything themselves, they are going to need to execute very soon. Otherwise, they will not leave themselves enough time to figure out how the setup is working for the CTs and properly clear it out. In they will go. It's the two-man stack and ladder, and that's going to be the real surprise in a second here. But Devo Duvek just goes down, and Sick doesn't get anything done either. The support system is horrible. And so Splyce just walk right in and get full control.
The smokes are down. It's a free plant for them. The retake is on, though, by the CTs. Aminek just charges through. He dies so quick. So does Sean Gares. And now Shazam is left holding onto this op. There's so many players in front of him. You know, just losing that op is kind of a big problem for them, because Splyce couldn't realistically afford one in this round, so they get a free op, and they'll be able to buy up AKs. So yeah, sure, Misfits can afford to rebuy, but at the same point in time, did you really want to give up that op? But the way they just played that, it was really sloppy. You know, maybe if they put Shazam in a position where he could have hightailed it out of there after those lead guys die, then you could say, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. But they have a double op setup anyway. They don't really seem to care. They're going to spend a lot of their money to get it, but we'll see if it's going to hold off the likes of Semphis, who's got his op trained towards the top of box halls, waiting for a peek to come through, and he might just spot it. Aminek is there, but he's holding a more passive angle. He's really playing more towards the bottom of the stairs. Did that molly just get hit by that smoke? Oh, that's unfortunate. The smoke in the corner. Like. Yeah, it hit that smoke in the corner, and it caused it to dissipate. Aria's got to be careful. There's a player pushed up aggressively right around the corner holding an angle. That's Sean Gares, who really came alive on the B-side defense on Mirage in that first map.
Splyce, again, though, holding back early on in the round. It's working to a certain degree. It's definitely baiting out quite a bit of the CT utility. They're down to just one smoke grenade, 2 HEs, and no mollies. So Splyce are going to have a much easier time executing now after they wait these out. And we can already see their own smokes and whatnot getting deployed into the site. They do have to be a bit more cautious of close-up pressure over by T-Con because they left it so open. But now into the site they go. This time, though, Misfits have a lot more gunpower to play with. Immediately, they find 2 kills before Roke responds of one of his own. Zam is going to miss a very crucial shot, though, and that opens up the gateway to even more kills. But Sean trades one out with an HE grenade. Not sure if Shazam spotted Semphis in the corner over there. Now he does, but he can't seem to hit the shot. There we go. He shuts him down. Unfortunately, he as well is going to find himself dead on the ground just moments later, putting this into a 1v2, but one that Sean will close out relatively easily as Rix just ends up peeking him out for the bomb train.
They survive with the one op as well, which is good, and they'll be able to buy up here yet again. They could have even made a consideration for Sean Gares to drop an op and just not get any utility. But it looks like they're just going to juggle guns around. We'll see how things settle down. It looks like Shazam is going to be the sole op, and Aminek's going to go with a rifle. It'll be 2 AKs in play here for Splyce, Rix, and Semphis, and the rest on pistols. They don't really seem content to surrender economic control this early on. Splyce are just going to fire right back. Already throwing smokes and flashes for this A site take. The first one's down. We'll see how many more they throw. They're just in position waiting right now. There goes the smokes out, but look at that, a quick kill coming in for Semphis. He picked him off as they pushed aggressively down Ivy. There's one more in position, that's sick. But meanwhile, the kills have been brought back for Misfits, down to a 4-on-4, and another one for Aminek, and another one. This push towards A is being obliterated by the French rifler. It's down to Rix and Semphis, the 2 men with AKs, and now just Rix, as Semphis was the only one on the round to find a kill. Rix does at least spot the head of Semphis, or Shazam for that matter, but not really going to be able to connect. Shazam falls off the train, and Sick, the player who pushed aggressively down Ivy in the early round, is there for the backup. So 5 rounds now for Misfits, and a reset here for Splyce that should put them on a full save.
Yep, 5-1 with Splyce in the backside of this round now are going to find themselves pretty much fully broken for the next upcoming one, and that gives Misfits more of a chance to sort of rebuild the money that they stacked up on the first 3 rounds here. They're still going to be looking a little bit low overall, so Splyce can find themselves a couple of close battles. And if you drop players, it is going to keep the money in still in a decent position for them to be able to break them when they go on to the next buy round. But we'll see in a second as Splyce start going somewhat predictably over here towards the box halls where they're going to try to execute, and Sean will be able to spot that and call for additional players to rotate over into this site.
Should be a pretty easy round for them to shut down. However, it could be a bomb plant here for Splyce if they play this one right. They're just waterfalling out of upper, which is really hard to stop. And with the way they're positioned, they're kind of surrendering site control and playing more for a retake. So it's a little bit of money there for Splyce. Sean Gares gets caught pulling for a nade, but he doesn't lose his life. As it is just pistols, just like that, they all fall apart. I mean, the defense wasn't really much to defend with. So it's an easy round for Misfits, a 6th for them, but some bonus money right now for Splyce. On the back of 3 rounds loss bonus, that extra $800 is actually quite important. It'll push them within range of considering a glass cannon, which we might see. But even if they don't go that route, they'll have AKs with plenty of utility. And there it is. You know, Semphis has bought the glass cannon enough times in this series already that I would consider it an almost go-to buy. As long as he's got 4750, he's buying it all.
Yeah, and I mean, overall here, Splyce find this was the plan out of that last round. They obviously don't manage to pick up any kills or anything, so that's not too great. But considering the losing bonus that they're working with, this propels them forward quite a bit. It does allow them to pick up quite a few extra like grenades and one that they otherwise would not have been able to purchase in this upcoming round here. Rix, though, is going to find himself in a very early battle versus Sean, but he's given the time to recover, get his AK out, and actually win out that dual 1v1. So really advantage to Splyce. Sean gets a little bit over-aggressive there and finds himself dead on the ground, maybe a little bit earlier than he was expecting. Besides that, though, no additional progress has been made by Splyce just yet. They're still holding in that default pattern as we saw in the last gun run.
Six got a pop flash into T-connector that allows him to move up just a little bit further. Don't go too far beyond this. There's players waiting for you. Oh, it's a free kill on Naroka. He's watching Ivy. Drone was pulling for a smoke, and even if he wasn't, he didn't really have an angle to spot Sick. So risky play from Sick to push that far up, but it's what we've seen in many of the rounds that have played out thus far on Train. Splyce get an opening kill very early on, and Misfits bring it right on back, and usually another follow-up from Misfits gives them the man advantage. It's what we saw from Amanek just a few rounds ago with his rifle play on the A site when he killed 3 players coming out of T-Con. We've seen it time and time again in other positions on the map as well. Shazam comes up empty-handed, though, peeking from the box halls, misses a couple of shots that were right in front of him as they were moving their way up the brown halls. So he's going to go on the other side of Pop Dog and watch for the push to come down ramp. They have utility, so a take here should involve smokes that will kind of prevent him from being able to spot much. But they still haven't necessarily decided if this is going to be the site of contention yet. The bomb is in the box halls, but there's 2 players back by ladder. They could still double clutch this one and go towards A if they wanted to.
At the moment, they're wasting a lot of time, and look at this. They're actually going to be almost out of time when they move into the site finally. At 15 seconds is when they actually start the execution moving in. Sick just swipes a kill, but he's not paying attention to the sandwich lane. Rex moves in, finds the trade, and the LTs are starting to flood the site, but they have failed to account. Semphis just bails out his teammate big time, and Rix should secure it now with that kill on Shazam. A lot of chaos, but no, they aren't able to get the bomb down in time. So Amanek, all he has to do is sit inside of the box halls, and he wins out the round because of that. Splyce, huge miscalculation of their time, and it costs them big.
I mean, we talked about this in the first map. We've seen Splyce make a lot of mistakes like that in the past where they just lose control of the clock, and on a map like Train or a map like Inferno, for instance, it's really easy for those things to happen. A bit of miscommunication from Misfits. Devo was in Z connector, but I don't think he was watching the cross from E-Box to Brown Train, so Sick thought he had his back covered. That's why he went back out to try and, you know, go for a nade. But instead, he loses his life. Had Six stayed alive longer, that's a really easy round for Misfits to close out because he's in such a good position to completely shut down that push. But instead, he loses his life, and then Devo falls very shortly after. However, Splyce just kind of lose control of the clock. It's, you know, the ever-looming presence if you're on the T side is that clock control. So, NACS at its finest, Splyce lose the round. And it's now a string in many unsuccessful rounds for them. 7-1, a really strong lead again for Misfits. This time, though, so on the CT side.
Well, time obviously now going to be a little bit more plentiful here. Splyce do try to move themselves into the site to actually take a little bit earlier. Drone getting a bullet on Sick, though, so somehow Sick manages to stay alive. Devadumek comes in for the assist, bails his teammate back out. Although we do see a trade on Inert now. This is going to be the flood from Splyce as they move in to take control. 3v3 on the retake here. Arya looking away. Just the wrong moment. Did allow Sick to get through Z here. However, they still know he's sitting in the back corner somewhere, but Devadumek once again possibly saving his teammate's life as Arya tries to lurk back in. The timing works out perfectly for Sean as it does allow him to catch Arya just as he was trying to sneak through that smoke there. Now all that's left alive is Semphis. Doesn't even have the typical molly to throw back down over on top of the bomb there. So all he can do is sit in this corner, try to kill anyone that would hunt him down, but no one's biting on it, so now he'll fall back to save.
You know what's funny about that timing for Sean Gears too? He accidentally alt-tabbed. He was running into Z connector, and he all of a sudden lagged for a second and froze. Didn't move for a good 5-7 seconds, and just sat there staring at the smoke. And then he came back and like wiggled his mouse for a minute, and then moved again. So you could tell like he'd either gotten alt-tabbed or he had to get up from his desk for some reason. So the timing was unintentional. Sometimes it's the way it goes. Molly's down on T-Con early on. Semphis wanted to peek early, but he's not going to be able to, as there are some flames licking at his ankles if he tries to go for it. There's a kill for Arya, though, who was really good at opening up the A-bomb site for the T-side of Splyce in that second half on Mirage. But down goes the op, Devadumek. making up for some of his mistakes in previous rounds. 6 even going to get in on the action after Devo does go down. It's Drone and Arya trying to potentially open up this A site as Arya, or B site for that matter, but it's now down to Drone. He's alone on Ivy, completely disconnected from Arya, split apart like field goal posts. And at this point, it should be yet another round for Misfits.
Yeah, it's looking very similar to what we saw back on Mirage at this point, just with the sides being flipped, as it was Misfits taking full control back on the T side before, and now they're finding that same sort of stride, but over on the defense. Drone's going to make his best attempt at a clutch here, and in a second will find himself in his first duel versus Almanac. Still has to get the go back and get the bomb too, but thankfully, again, time is very much on his side currently with 45 seconds still remaining to play with. He's just going to take it nice and slow as he holds back for a round outside of T-Con. Can definitely hear Almanac and a few of the others hopping around there. And spotted the one player further back on Ivy, but he should have taken that kill when he had the opportunity, as in the duel versus Almanac, he is immediately shut down. Once again, propelling that scoreline forward even more for Misfits, up to 9-1 now.
I mean, it's just... What else can you say at this point? I mean, Misfits is really playing this well. Sean Gares is 15-2. Sean Gares, a player who has largely been disrespected, I think you can say, for for his input on the statistics chart. Everyone respects him for his in-game leadership abilities, but no one necessarily looks at him as like the hardcore fragger, the guy that's going to be topping the statistic charts. He's looking great right now, and he really looked good in that first map too, so I can't say anything bad about him. Arya drops in the ladder, somehow gets the best of Devo. Sick is there for an immediate trade, but he goes down as well. So good work right now, considering it is just pistols from Splyce. It's the same A execute we saw from them not that long ago, throwing smokes down across the site, blanketing everything in a field of fog. And they'll be able to secure that bomb site, but the hold is going to be a little bit difficult, being as they are just on pistols, and there's plenty of utility for the CT side to work with. Sean Gares quick on the site. He already takes down Roka. Smoke on top of the bomb to try and bait them out of position. They're both in ladder at this point. Joke's on you. There's a smoke on that bomb. No molly today. Sean Gares and Shazam chime in for the last two. Almanac defuses. It will be another round for Misfits. Splyce is really struggling to find anything, and even when they get on the site, they can't hold for the retake. And I'm not surprised at this point that we're seeing a pause come in from them as well.
A very much needed pause coming in here. So 10-1 being the scoreline here, and what is this now? 7 rounds straight, I think, for Misfits at this point. So, yeah, very much at a point where Splyce really just have to take a moment to themselves and figure out what isn't working and how they can try to adjust that. As they've got another bye coming up here, but they can't just continue to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. They basically have already tried that. They've tried rushing inner, they've tried rushing outer, they've tried slow plays and have run out of time doing it. They've tried more default plays. With the exception of one round back on the first gun round, that really has not worked for the entire half so far, as they've just been getting trounced on. And if this continues, they're not even going to have a chance to fight back in the second half once they jump over to the CT side.
Yeah, and that round was the round, it was like a bonus round for Misfits. Like they had like 3 umps in play and a double op or something. It was like at least 2 umps, a rifle and 2 ops, or 1 op. I can't remember the full setup. I think it was 1 op for Shazam and like a mixture of rifles and umps. So it wasn't like Misfits came into the round with a whole lot of investment. They were just carrying over guns from the previous rounds, and they misplayed it horribly at the same point in time. Like just playing a little bit faster than they needed to. But they immediately reset Splyce the next round. So Splyce didn't really stand much of a chance. They've only gotten the bomb down in 3 of the rounds that they've lost. So not really a great success rate for Splyce right now, and just getting to the bomb sites themselves. Almanac, again, that early kill coming in for Splyce, hamstringing the team. That's Drone down too, who's suffering. He's sitting at 3-11. He was really a top performer from Splyce on that first map, but here he just can't get anything going. I mean, yeah, 3-11 looks bad, but the top fragger for Splyce right now is 6-9. It's just not a good performance from Splyce across the board. They're really taking a brunt of the damage in a lot of these duels and exchanges, and really struggling to make anything happen.
Already down 1 player here, and once again in a position where they haven't really traded out a whole lot to be able to justify that loss of a player. Still just hanging out in the back halls. It's just these first initial peaks, and they just keep getting destroyed on every single one. All of the initial 1v1s, and there's another one where Shazam shuts out Arya. They just walk right in, give their own players away, and it's yet another kill that goes by the way of Misfits. Completely kills any plans that they had to possibly execute from these box halls as well. So now Splyce are moving back, trying to drop down inside of ladder room to make a hit here. But once again, Misfits are aware of this and are very much set up to stop this. 2 players fully committed to it right now, with a third that could change his gaze at any moment. Actually, scratch that, as there isn't going to be that player alive anymore. Semphis finally finds the first kill for the T side here, eliminating Almanac. But now, in will come the push from Splyce, as they once again will try to go for an execute with like 15 seconds remaining.
So, Rix is left with no other choice but to save. I mean, at that point, they do what they've done in a couple of rounds now, just taking too much time to make a decision. And Rix holds on to his AK as long as possible. He'll be able to bring that one into the next round, but I mean, I feel like it's kind of getting redundant. There's not much else you can say. We knew looking at the maps that this was a strong set of maps for Misfits. We knew that Mirage would be a better map for them than for Splyce. And this is Splyce's pick, but even still, slight edge to Misfits given their recent performance on the map since bringing in the French duo. But Sean Gares is having an absolutely bananas performance on the map in the first half. 17-2. 6 numbers are not bad at all either. 10-4, like just under 1 FPR. But my God, Splyce, you're just running out of avenues of attack. This time, at least they get an opener. They take down Shazam in the early fight. So they've got a man advantage here. They need to do something with this desperately so, because even when they found these in the past, it's been Misfits bringing it right back with 2 in exchange.
Well, the rest of them are sort of just stacking their way up. And Drone kind of patiently waiting over here in the corner. Let's see if anyone else on the CT side would attempt to push up from Ivy to look for revenge. They have found that revenge, but it's not over here towards Ivy. It's elsewhere on the map, where Sick is able to catch Roka, I believe, trying to push his way back out through T-Con once more. So eliminating him there. Finding himself that early pickup and trading it back down to a 4v4 where Splyce are looking like with a minute left on the clock that they are going to try to regroup outside of the T-connector and then swing their way over towards the outer site. Smoke's ready to go, but unfortunately, this another CT is going to block them off for a few more seconds here. It is Sean trying to sneak in, and on his third peek, finally picks up the kill. And now, doesn't even need the op anymore, just trades out for an M4. Moving back inside, knows that there's a heavy presence right around T-Con, so can very much read into the fact that they're probably going to go for this execution here, and can, just like before, call for teammates to rotate in.
2-man advantage right now for Misfits. Feels like we've said that time and time again. The take towards this A site, waiting till the last second. Again, something we've said before. The kills, though, are piling up for the T site. At least they're getting close to the site, but they've still run out of clock time here, and it forces the hand of Semphis to go back for the bomb. He's going to have to force a plant or go for the fight. It's one or the other, and he tries to take the fight. So at this point, all Sean Gares and Amanek have to do is survive, and that's exactly what's going to happen. It's another round where Amanek, all he has to do is bait out the clock. So it's a 12th for Misfits, as Splyce have hit an absolute brick wall defense. Even when they're getting the duels, they're taking too much time. They get to the site, and it's just a matter of killing clock for the CTs, forcing the players to be unsafe for a plant. It's a hard XD. This whole first half is a hard XD right now for Misfits.
And once again, Splyce are going to find themselves in a somewhat subpar gun round here. AKs, yes. Ari is down onto a UMP, however, and besides the basic smokes and I think 1 or 2 mollies, they don't have much to actually try and throw off these CTs here. Shazam just going off at Ivy. He's already got 2 kills for himself. He just missed the 3rd shot, leading to his own death. Sick of the double kill, just leaving Semphis in this. He gets a 2nd and now a 3rd pickup, however. So keeping the dreams alive at this point here for the Splyce roster, and at least trying to get themselves a 2nd round, but not going to happen. Sean does outflank him, knocks out Semphis, and still secures the round for the CTs.
These are the games that are actually really hard to cast, right? Because you're trying to highlight the positives for Misfits without pointing out the negatives for Splyce, because it starts to sound like you're just berating a team for making too many mistakes. But the reality is you can only sugarcoat it for so long. Splyce is making so many mistakes across the map, losing a lot of clock time. Like, I'd almost love to see them just go fast play like they're going to do here in the final round. Just play fast. Put bodies out there early and hope that it works out, because obviously the slow play is not going your way, and neither is this. Now, they've brought it back to a manageable number and actually have taken control of the round. So just like that, it's Semphis alone. So that fast play, the gamble play, the roll of the dice, they could have thrown that out earlier. Instead, they wait until the last round where the best thing they can get is a 13-2, and it's still not guaranteed, but it will be closed out as that. 13-2 first half for Misfits. Dynamite performance from the CT side. Splyce finally go for a faster play, and it works out, but it's just too little too late. I mean, the pistol round loss is basically GG.
Yeah, pretty much. 13-2 is that definitive scoreline here. Splyce don't get anything realistic. Splyce found themselves a few good rounds, but that's pretty much it. And they just get, once again, just like the last map, it's get completely destroyed. And this time they don't even have the pistol to push them forward either. It was almost the exact same situation that we saw back on Mirage. It's just this time they don't even have those couple of rounds at the start to bolster them up anymore. So 13-2, they lose the pistol. This is a done game, and Misfits are going to take it 2-0 and push on into the semifinals.
I just don't know what you can do if you're Splyce. We saw that strong first half from Misfits in map 1 on Mirage. It was 11-4. Splyce made it a respectable loss, but they still didn't have enough in the tank to bring it all the way back. They got as close as 13-12, and then the game ended, essentially. Misfits went out from that point. So they made it close, but Misfits still ended up ending the map. The problem is now, Train is a hard map, and you're down so much. You don't have that extra wriggle room. You really don't. You don't have that extra room for mistakes. Losing the pistol rounds 14-2, and then you're basically throwing everything at that force buy. You're like, okay, this needs to work. This is all we have left. So it's got to start with the pistol round victory here. I think it's lights out for Splyce. And another in a string of impressive performances from Misfits, realistically. Like, I know Splyce is not as well respected as some other opponents that might be competing in this offline, or this closed qualifier, not offline qualifier. It's closed qualifier. But still not a team you can just like brush aside. They've been improving across the board. They looked much better in recent months. But even still, they're just being outclassed right now by Misfits.
Yeah, it definitely shows that they still have quite a bit of work to do before they're maybe ready to take that next step up, necessarily speaking. So once again, folks, we are just waiting for the players themselves to ready up, and then we can jump into it. But as we've seen, the usual stars are showing up to this matchup so far. Shazam once again having himself a relatively good game. Sean even jumping in for moments there as well. The whole team, for the most part, is doing a great job. But then you see Almanac and some of the others coming in to make these big plays from back to back, and that's the thing that really pushes it over the edge and allows for the Misfits to close out on so many of these rounds. And Splyce just don't really seem to have that sort of star power, that star factor right now. We saw one round of it from Roka back on the last map when he had that cool 1v2. But besides that, you can't really look back and say, yeah, this guy had a really remarkable play back in this round, and it saved them under these circumstances and allowed them to push through. They're not really seeing a whole lot of that at the moment from Splyce.
You can't really get away with that as much on Train. That's the problem. Like you can get away with that a little bit on Mirage with the way the map plays out, but like heroic plays on a map like Train are a lot harder. It's just a much more team-focused map, which is the biggest problem for Splyce. As a team, they have been disconnected at times, severely so. And when they played through to get the record they're at on now for Train, like being a 7-1 team, a lot of that was against opponents where they could just out-aim them, which is an issue for the once TSM team that has now become Misfits. They just barreled through Premier. They really didn't meet much of a resistance. So when they got to the playoffs, they struggled because they weren't really used to playing a team that could put up a fight. So they got to maps like Train where they're like, this is a good map for us, when realistically, it wasn't that great of a map for them. They just played against opponents who weren't very good on the map and weren't as good mechanically speaking or individually speaking, and they were able to just overwhelm them with aim. So that's, I think, what you're seeing right now from Splyce is this realization that, hey, guys, maybe Train isn't that good of a map for us. Maybe it was just good for us when we were playing against opponents who weren't as good as we are.
Well, we will finally jump back into it here now. The second half with Misfits in full control of the situation currently. Splyce absolutely have to try and win this pistol, and there's a good chance that they can. Don't get me wrong. They were pretty good at it back on Mirage. They won both of them there. The only one they dropped so far was the first round here on this map, so if they're able to bounce back and win out this pistol, then they may have a chance yet, although it's going to be a slim one based on what we have seen so far from Splyce overall. And now Misfits starting to move out. Pretty typical outer execution coming out from them. No real surprises here, and immediately Splyce impact with 2 of their own kills. The remaining 3 still trying to brute force their way back in, but it's not going well. Shazam's been dinked down. Roka finds the kill into Devo Duvek, and these last 2 just trying to make it work, but it's not looking like it's going to happen. Not a single player on Splyce has even taken any damage as of yet.
Well, this is how you start a comeback, I guess. Shazam, with the Deagle of all things, gets that first kill for the T side, but at this point he's been softened up quite a bit. Should be cut through like butter in just a moment. Down to 16 HP. The USP's already doing a lot of damage. He's got this Deagle back behind the E-box. He's got some semblance of cover, but there's bodies building up all around him. Can't even connect with another Deagle shot, so Just one kill for Misfits, but at this point in time, you're probably not all that concerned. You're looking at this and you're going, okay, yeah, I know we let them get back into that Mirage game a little bit, but this is Train. It's just a pistol round. Honestly, I would love to see them just save throughout these ecos, not spend any money, and go heavy full buy in that first rifle round. Just not really worth wasting the cash.
Yep, so taking a look here for the Misfits, as they did decide to full buy into this one. They'll proceed back through the White Halls. Pretty straightforward again from these guys on just these lackluster rounds. I don't think they're really wanting to give anything away within these few rounds. Just save it for the gun rounds where they can really surprise Splyce. In all reality, at this point in the match, Misfits need like 1 to 2 gun rounds max to be able to actually win this. Assuming Splyce don't build up like this huge economy or anything like that, then they're going to be looking really good to just shut them down immediately. But Misfits taking their time after they do push into the boxes. They do break that window to make it look like they're going to try to go for like a default execution, but haven't really given anything away just yet. They are still holding Shazam back over in T-Con, so they may try to sell it a little bit further. But with 4 inside of like the top of ladder room and the box holes, I highly doubt they're going to go for like a big dive in there, but we'll see in a second.
Does look like the bodies are stacking up right now in the brown halls and the box halls. Devo Duvek and Amanek, the French duo, watching the top of ladder. Shazam, though, is back in T-Con. This could be a play towards that. See how they decide to take this one. So this is just pistols here. 6 posted up, top box halls. Drone is watching the bottom of the ramp. That molly is going to make a push towards B really difficult if they wanted to go for it. Trying to throw that smoke down is going to be almost impossible. They got to wait for that molly to dissipate. There's the flash. And a smoke thrown down by Sean Gares could be a fake towards A or a late lurk from Shazam. We'll see what they decide to do. 6 already in the site, opening things up with his Tech 9. Rix has gotten 2 as both players drop down the ladder into his P90. But meanwhile, the rest of the players are falling. It's Shazam alone and alive. But with 10 seconds left, he can't really do much of anything. He's going to try and grab the bomb and run to the site. They're not going to let him cross. Good hold by Roka as well. Good positioning, not giving up the bomb plant. So it will be another round for Splyce, another save coming in for Misfits.
Yeah, and with Splyce able to hold consistent, they prevent the immediate upset right there. Although 2 players going down is not necessarily, again, going to be the best ratio for Splyce. I know I'm sounding a little bit harsh against them, but they need to keep this very consistent. Even small mistakes can lead to huge consequences when we do finally get into that gun round. Rix pushing forward, though, gets the good nade on a Devo Duvek. He's trying to crush this before it even begins. As Misfits have started off in a very, very similar way to what they did in the last round here, just obviously with a lot less firepower overall. It is the trash round for them, just P250 investments, so we should expect Splyce to shut this one down rather handily and take us into the gun round pretty quickly.
It should be an easy round indeed. Umps across the board. Decent chance for Splyce to make some money. Semphis getting close to T-Con. Just waiting right now for the likely smorgasbord of kills that are coming his direction. It does appear, though, that Misfits moving the bomb back towards Ivy instead. Semphis still buried in this corner. Shazam is in the same position as he was in last round. This time, though, P250, not a deagle. Flashbang comes through. Not where it needs to be. Still here, though. Holding and waiting for a push to come in from Semphis, and Semphis finally charges, actually just jump peeks, checks the close corner, and then falls off. Meanwhile, over towards Ivy, it's a flow of players. Shazam now has a backstab shot. He's going to dink him, and Duvo Duvek is going to close things out. Rix from ladder, though, drops Shazam. Meanwhile, in sight, Arya is stuck in a really difficult spot, and he will get overwhelmed by the pistols as well. This round is stacking up to be quite successful. It's down to Drone. Drone's got 10 HP. The bomb's going to be planted, and rifles have been picked up by Misfits. This was a full save. This should have never come to be. Drone's going to get caught looking the other direction. That is backbreaking right now if you're Splyce. Even if this was a close game, that's the kind of round that really tips things over the edge. But in a game like this, that's devastating for your CT side.
Yeah, Misfits get away with murder off of winning out that round now. So not only are they going to be able to upgrade themselves relatively for free on those that manage to actually make it out of the round alive there, but it's going to save quite a bit of money for those that actually are going to be under those circumstances. Sick, Sean, and Devo, even if they lose out this round, they can just rebuy into the next one here now. Whereas Splyce, they're buying out, and it's not so great. Look at it. 2 players with all pistols. Roka's on an MP9, and for For Semphis, well, he's the only player along with Rix to have M4s to play with here. Roka just gives himself up, wide peeking and staying there too, right into the Ivy opening, and the same for Semphis. Already 2 kills going by the way of Misfits. Already able to trade out 1 over here towards T-Con, but that's of little consequence with the other 2 kills being traded out on Ivy and that opening a whole window of possibilities for Misfits to try and abuse. Although Rix holds the line there, shuts down Devo Duvex, so Splycer's slowly kind of getting back that control now.
Still, though, look at the damage that's been dealt to Rix and Arya. 34 HP for Rix, 19 for Arya. Drone, yeah, you got 100 HP, but you're in the B bomb site pretty far away from those 2 remaining players, and you've only got a Deagle. And he's got to watch 2 angles at the same time, top and bottom, trying to use the spindles for cover. Amanek is flirting with pushing into B, as he's sitting in the upper box halls right now, right around the corner from that ladder. Hasn't gone too far past it, though. And it looks like he's going to fall back and join forces with the rest of his team who's at the bottom of the ladder. Misfits falling into a bit of a trap here that Splyce themselves fell into in that first half as the clock has ticked down very low. 30 seconds left for them on the clock. Got to be very careful. They want to try and get this bomb into A. There's still Arya who's lurking up in heaven. And meanwhile, on this long flank, we've got Rix. His position could be pivotal because even if Arya dies, they're not going to anticipate this player to be working in from the backside like this. Arya, though, should be able to deny the plant. All he has to do is peek out wide, but he's not going to. Willing to surrender it and then lose his life. Sick walks right up the ladder. He never saw a single body work their way into the site. Even Rix goes down. This is devastating right now for Splyce. Drone is the only remaining hope for Splyce's CT side here, and he's eating flashbangs for breakfast as they pour out around the corner. Not a single kill in the 3 versus 3 for Splyce, despite strong positioning and an ability from Arya to close the round out with ease by simply killing the bomb planter. Misfits take the round.
Yeah, and that is going to set them up now for victory here in a 2-0 runaway set against Splyce. Granted, it's only the quarterfinals, so they still have a lot more work to do, but it's a great start for Misfits, assuming they don't slip up here now. Splyce will buy into it, but it's only going to be pistols and a single scout for Semphis, and I don't think Misfits have any room to fear. They're rushing the A site. They're just going to go right for this and shut this down right here, right now. Roka will try to play it up close by this smoke here on the other side of it. He gets the first kill. That's almost a guaranteed kill nowadays. Roka finding that one against Sean, but Devo trades 2 more back. Now Roka has got the safety, but he's stuck in the smoke. Manages to find his way out of it, however, and now he's dropped the bomb. Semphis finds one with a scout of his own, and Roka closes out with 1 more kill and then follows it up. Ends up with a massive 4K on the round. It'll keep Splyce alive for the time being.
There's that Roka value. That boomer bust playstyle. Either he's a silent player just sort of sitting towards the middle of the pack, or he's that guy that chimes in with a round that saves your team from certain annihilation. And that's exactly what happens there, as it looked like Splyce was on the brink of Armageddon. But Roka pulls them right on back as he leaves Bruce Willis stranded on the asteroid. It will be Misfits losing the round, but they've still got 10 more opportunities to close the game out. And they've got rifles as well. Plenty of firepower here to take the tools with Arya. But Arya with that Mag 7 close catches Amanek off guard, and it's 1 straight to the chest as the slug connects. The body falls. It will be 4-on-4 strength with 1:25 left on the clock.
Still going to take Misfits quite a little bit of time, I imagine, though, to line themselves up for an actual site take now that they have lost a man at the moment. Sending some of the pressure away from Ivy. The bomb specifically heading its way back towards T-Con right now, and Sean's still kind of hanging out. But I don't think he's actually, for the time being, going to make a push inside of Ivy itself. Still way too heavy of presence there for Splyce, so it's probably going to end up not being worth it at the end of the day. So yeah, he will end up backing away from this entirely and probably grouping up with the rest of his teammates who are now trying to move in towards box halls, ladder room. It's probably going to end up being an inner hit more than likely. Just having Sick trying to distract a little bit from the ladder itself. But everyone else is working their way towards those box halls, getting ready to go for an inner execute, and they'll need to do it soon as time is getting low. And yeah, Sick's going to start the fake. So out he'll go, just trying to make some noise and keep those A players in the sight.
In they go towards B. Standard execute, smokes down, flash as well. They get free entry, basically. Drone can't do much from that position. The molly is down, but it's not doing much as they get the bomb planted in just a moment here. Should be Misfits with full control. It's down to just 2, Roka and Semphis. However, Shazam, he went a little bit more aggressive than he needed to. The rest of his team was content to play back. He pushed deep into the train yard. It doesn't matter in the end, though. It's come down to Semphis. It will need to be another hero play for Splyce to live on here, and it's not going to happen. It's Sean Gares of all people to close the game out with a 4K, nearly dropping 30 kills in his performance on train, 27 total for the in-game leader for Misfits. A performance like that I haven't seen in quite some time since his Cloud9 days when they played against Virtus Pro and Cash back in the early days of Face It. I think it was like Season 1. I remember he was like a top performer across the entire best of 3 series. So it's been a while since I remember seeing a performance from Sean Gears. It was like, wow, Sean looks really good, but well played from him and well played from Misfits in general.
Yeah, and overall, that is going to propel Misfits forward to be able to take on their next opponent here. So they'll take the set 2-0. And with that said, guys, that does close out our first match of the day. We still have 3 more to go, however, so plenty of action still to come here at the North American closed qualifiers for the ESL Pro League. Stick with us, and as soon as we do have our next match ready to go, we're bringing that to you.